You're listening to the Jay Bird Watching Podcast, the official podcast of jaysjournal.com and fansided.com, where we discuss all things Toronto Blue Jays baseball. We'll talk about news, rumors, and game recaps. So whether you're a diehard fan or just getting started with the team, this is the podcast for you. Here's your host, Craig Borden, with co-hosts Jason Lyons and me, Ken Alfred. You're listening to the Jay Bird Watching Podcast.
Good evening, Blue Jays fans, and welcome to the not-so-spring training version of Jay Bird Watching. Seeing there's a blizzard everywhere around Toronto and New York, it seems like right now. At least it's starting outside. I can see it. So anyways, it is spring training, and with me, as always, Ken Alfred, Jason Lyons. How are you two doing this evening?
Cold. I could have sworn last episode we were talking, and I said barbecue weather and shorts weather, and it's... God damn it. I feel like
last week when I was feeling better that I also said I was cruising with the windows down and there was some niceness going on. Jason, things a little nicer in Vancouver?
Yeah, well, it's cold, but it's really nice and clear. It was a beautiful sunny day. We're actually expecting a tickle of snow tonight. But I mean, the last couple of days have sort of been 8-9 degrees and quite nice. So looking a lot more springy. We got baseball practice tonight, and we're probably going to warm up outside if it doesn't get too cold. So yeah,
the tickle of snow is a little different than what I hear. Is I'm actually going to have to use my snowblower again finally this winter. I don't know. I don't get it. I usually use it a bunch of times in frickin' New York where I live, but apparently Buffalo's eating it all the snow this year. So anyways, also with us this evening from jaysjournal.com, David Salaturo. How you doing?
Oh, thanks for having me.
Always a pleasure to have you and anybody from Jay's Journal for that matter back. And it's always a good time here. And we get to make this a quartet instead of just a triplet. So let's just dive right into it, boys, because, there's enough weird things going on already. And I'm wondering if the Blue Jays are just starting to stack karma up a little bit here. And I'm just going to throw this out here. Does anybody heard what John Schneider did that made national level news the last week? David, you know this story you want to
pretty crazy,
tell the Blue Jays fans?
It was at a restaurant in Dunedin. Saw a woman choking. He used his knowledge of the Heimlich maneuver, just like he rescued the Jays last year. He rescued her.
There you go. And to that point, like I said, that made national headlines as somebody that's always super calm, cool, and collective. I can see him, and I can picture him jumping into that situation and diving, just handling it. And thank God everybody's all right and there's no choking, and the Blue Jays get a nice little karma story right here to start off spring training. And then the next piece to that, John Schneider, first full workout day, apparently had the speech of all speeches. I'm dying to hear a recording of this whole thing. I haven't heard it yet, and I can't find it. But John Schneider might be the igniter that this team has needed. And we've talked about what is that piece? What brings the Blue Jays and this talent to that next level? Is it just as simple as this? We have the manager that we should be moving into the, riding off into the sunset with and going from there. Jason, it looks like you've got the gears turning on that. Do you want to run with that one a little bit?
Yeah, it's funny because I read a little bit about it, and I don't know if it was an insider or one of the players said they kind of akin the speech to like the Herb Brooks from Miracle, where it was like guys were like getting up and like clenching their fists and like run through wall. That's how I like to call it, a run
table flips and
yeah. So I mean, I've always liked Schneider a lot. He motivates and coaches us very similarly to myself. And so when I'm watching him, I see my own mannerisms and stuff like that. And so when he's, I like to get the kids fired up, and I like to use a lot of the, mental game if you can, as much as you can use it. And I feel like it does a very, very, very good job. You could see it at the end of last year, not only balancing, but making sure that the guys are fired up, ready to go. He knows when to get involved with an argument with an umpire or something like that. And I like his style, and I think that he is going to be a key cog for the Jays for this year for sure.
Yeah. Ken, do you want to weigh in on what it means to have somebody like John Schneider for the whole season? And this is his first real spring training running the club. And the first headlines of things have been the team has been much closer. It's a different vibe around this camp and a little bit more regimented than it's been over the last few years was kind of what they've been saying from the first few weeks of camp here and the first full day of camp.
I want to hear the speech. That's what I want to hear of the Braveheart-like proportions from what we're reading in the papers. I can't wait for it. I mean, you're right. He could be the igniter that the Jays are looking for, where, he has that explosive mentality if he needs to be, but he's also, he gets everyone, he rallies them all together into, I think the Jays are ready to go to battle. So I'm very excited to see the season coming up.
And if they are going to battle and he's one of the ones that are leading the way on this whole thing, just look at the rest of that management team. I don't want to be some pissed off umpire. I don't want to be the opposing coaches that are getting yelled at by not only John Schneider, Pete Walker, who we've seen get very emotional and livid over the years. And then just throw Donnie Baseball in. No big deal.
He'll throw his sideburns at the umpire. What are you talking about? Just
like a boomerang. Just so, but I just can't imagine with that core group that this doesn't light a fire under their asses a little bit. They have literally a Hall of Famer sitting on the bench with them, and they showed him taking pictures, fielding practice in some of Hazel May's videos last week. I think it's very exciting. David, you look like you got something to add to that.
Yeah, I wasn't like a fly on the wall for the speech or anything, but from what I've seen, this message is basically like, it's time to stop being like an up-and-coming team. Like, our time is now. It's time to go seize the opportunity that we have. So
yeah, and it wasn't exactly the Bull Durham lollygagger speech, but that's exactly it. The window is now, right? They have to start doing something with this. So, does anybody have anything else they'd like to add before we storm into the East?
I do want to say this. I mean, it's slightly off topic, but it's dead on the topic. It is very important for people to make sure that they do have their safety and they are up to date on their things like that. We had a gentleman go down at the Winter Club where I'm a member and had someone not known how to save this guy's life, he'd be dead right now. And I mean, he's a 66-year-old guy out playing 60-year-old man hockey. And if there wasn't somebody who'd taken the hour or whatever it takes, I just did mine, and it takes a little bit less than an hour to get your full safety. Do it. It's so good for you. I know it's hard for people to get involved sometimes, but just to have the knowledge even is key. Yeah.
And then the funny thing is to hearken where you're going there too. I don't know if anybody has read the story of Kim Pegula, the Buffalo Bills owner, because of all the other stuff that's been going around with the Buffalo Bills with Damar Hamlin, who was saved with the first responders and the team members and everything like that. But her daughter is a world-renowned tennis player, and she's really, really damn good and was going to Wembley to play. And she was afraid to go because in the midst of this whole thing, her mom has been really suffering trying to get healthy again, because if her sister wasn't home with her randomly, she might not be walking the earth anymore for the same kind of thing, because she was able to administer CPR until the ambulances showed up. So to that point, that's two stories in my fandom within the last 6 months that kind of training has helped somebody, and you don't hear it enough.
Yeah, and the funny thing too is I used to volunteer at St. John Ambulance as medical first responder for just a couple of years, and I got the advanced training versus more than just the basic safety that everyone should be taking. But even still, it's very important that I'm hoping that St. John Ambulance used to have like a kids program with like 10 or 12-year-olds to be learning how to do that. I don't know if they have any more, but I'm definitely going to be having them take their courses, especially my daughter, who might want to be a babysitter. So we'll see. But everyone out there, get your first aid and CPR. You never know when you might need it.
It's better to have it than not use it.
We need that thing. We need that thing now to sweep in that one to grow on that they used to do.
The more you know.
Yeah,
oh God! We used to do our GI Joe PSA for the day, and knowing it's half the battle.
Buzzing.
So anyways, as we talk, we were starting to lead toward this as if Schneider and this management core is the igniter that this team has been lacking the last couple of years. And I can't say it's because of talent lacking over the last few years. It's been something missing. It could be an intangible kick in the butt. It could be this. It could be too much goofing. Whatever it is, I really don't care. We had this problem pre-2015 with the Toronto Blue Jays too. How do you get over the hurdle? And then you cleaned house and brought in Josh Donaldson and all these other guys that really changed the culture just enough. I feel like that kind of thing is happening again. So in the midst of this whole thing, we were a 90-win team last year. Where do the Toronto Blue Jays stack up is the current question on many Blue Jays fans' minds, especially after stupid comments that we talked about in length last week from certain Red Sox ex-closers that, just apparently think we're a fourth-place team. Just saying. You can listen to last week if you're wondering about the weird goofball. Yeah, there he is. So first things first, let's talk about where we sit right now and how confident are we? Are we still a 90-win team? And let's go around the horn here. We'll start with David.
I think we're actually better than a 90-win team. I think we've gotten better in the offseason. Varsho, Bassett. So I think it's a better team than we'll see from last year. Even Vlad Jr. had a bad year last year, in quotes. But if he's better.
Yeah, a bad year at like what, 4.0 WAR or something. That Gold Glove, don't worry about it. So,
if he's better, then the team will be better. So I think could easily be 93, even as much as 95 wins. I certainly believe so.
Jason, you're up. We still a 90-win team, or
100% agree with David. I think the Jays are somewhere between 94 and 97 wins this year. I think this is going to be a serious statement by the Jays this year. To Papelbom's, credit, I think the Red Sox are actually going to be the bottom of the barrel. I feel like the Yankees are going to chase the Jays the whole way through. I don't know if they've got the cohesion that they need. They're now talking about moving Stanton and Judge into their respective other fields. I just feel like they're not a team. They're a bunch of individuals. They have been for a long time. So, I mean, I've got the Jays, sort of 95 and 67, somewhere in that wheelhouse, and winning the AL East.
Jason? Or, I mean, not Jason. Ken, your turn. Sorry.
I'm
going the wrong way.
It's all right. I think 90-win minimum, to be honest. Like, I think I think we're just going to continue the momentum from last season. I think the newest additions like Varsho and all the other guys that we talked about are going to feel like they have a chip on their shoulder. They're going to step up. And I just feel like now that Bo is now more stable and now that he signed the latest deal, I think he'll just not take his foot off the gas. I just think it's one less thing to worry about. And it'll just more focused on performing versus having to go to arbitration or having to think about what to do now, right? So I think we're definitely going to be, like I said, if not the top team, battling for second at least.
So I agree with all of you, and I do think that the one thing that nobody's talking about in this whole thing is, other than the fact that we have all this talent that all of you have mentioned, these nice pieces, all this good stuff, the good things that were already going right, the schedule this year is completely different. We're going to play the Pittsburgh Pirates 6 games this year and things like that. So how do those next pieces could spell out at a minimum, to your point, 90 wins. I don't see that being out of the ballpark here. And I do think with the new renovations to the ballpark being kind of an unsung hero, the 10th man, 26th. Well, sorry, I can't say 26th man anymore. 27th man being the fans, really, hyping that ballpark up and vibing it out. And I think there's some good things going there that it's going to be hard for this team to not get through those hurdles because of all the other good things going on around the club, I think. So, and to that point, the shifts have been now officially ruled out. There's a chance that we might actually steal some bases this year.
The bases are bigger. So
yeah, they're like this much bigger.
Yeah.
Like they're the size of a laptop now. Easy.
They're a pizza box. It's a large pizza box from Luigi's Pizza.
Nice.
There you go.
How many bases? How many bases did the Toronto Maple Leafs steal last year?
I think he stole one, actually.
Yeah.
Then you double it for this season. Double it for this season because the extra base, bigger bags.
It's all the extra sleep you'll get with the new baby.
Oh my God, yes.
He'll be running to chase the baby in his sleep, probably. So, but to that point, I do think there's a lot of good things going on, and it's not just this team being a 90-win team. The only catch on that whole thing is all these other teams have the same schedule and all the same rules. So I can only pepper that part of this into that conversation, but I do think this is a 90-win team, regardless of any way you slice it. Those are just some things that I think ensure the fact that it's going to happen, because you are going to be able to beat up, hopefully, on some of those teams that we know are just going to have really rough years. But the problem is, I don't think any of those teams are really in our damn division, boys. So, which is where the next piece of this conversation goes. Now that we've established the Blue Jay baseline, 90-win team, and I'd be saying, outside of Jonathan Papelbon, experts are saying the same thing. So all in agreement. So the next question is, what is going to happen with the Yankees? Are you fearing the evil empire at the moment? We'll go backwards this time. Ken, the Yankees didn't really do a ton this offseason, but they did probably sign the two biggest free agents in Major League Baseball by signing their own guy back in Aaron Judge for a giant boat full of money, and then signing a pitcher in Carlos Rodon, who, correct me if I'm wrong, boys, wasn't he second or third in the Cy Young race in the National League this year? So one of the best pitchers in baseball, all of a sudden, by the way. I'm still waiting to see if that pans out in the pinstripes in New York City. But there's something to that point, because they were actually able to keep the team they had together, which was a 90-win team, bring in Carlos Rodon and ensure that you still have Aaron Judge. Are there problems? Yes. But they also have some good prospects that might make them that same team that they were last year. Are you afraid, Ken, of the New York Yankees?
I wouldn't say afraid, but we'll definitely be super competitive with the Yankees. Like, I think if we're not first, we'll be it'll be between the Jays and the Yankees. That's the way I'm kind of feeling it right now. I don't know if Judge is going to have the exact same season like he did last year. That just could be like a once in a blue moon kind of thing. But with Rodon being there as well, that's definitely going to give some added problems for the Jays. How many games are we playing the Yankees this year?
I believe it's 14.
14?
14 sounds right.
Okay, so, but yeah, like, I think they're probably going to be one of the bigger threats. I think Tampa Bay is going to be I think Tampa Bay is going to be just a pain in our side like they always are. But yeah, that's why I'm not afraid of the Yankees, but I have a feeling we're always going to be one-upping them and them one-upping us kind of thing.
Yeah, Jason, that was the story last year. So do you think that narrative continues? Although we did take the Yankees to school pretty good last year.
Yeah, I feel like, the Jays did have the Yankees number last year. I think, again, it speaks to the fact that if you watch the teams that had their way with the Yankees, it was the teams that played like teams. The individual teams, they're all going to be the same, which has always surprised me, because up to sort of this year, I always thought Houston was an individual-based team. I thought they were selfish, and I thought all these other things. Now, I've come to been proven wrong about that, because they are a good team and they are good athletes. But I think it took them getting caught cheating for them to come together as a team, which is a weird thing to say, but I think it's accurate. Anyways,
and I'm sure Don Baylor had nothing to do with that.
No, not. But so the way that I see it is, I see the Jays winning. I see the Yankees chasing us the whole way through. If the Yankees run into any kind of pitching injuries or injuries to any of their big three, they're done. They may end up down in 4 or 5. They don't have the middle guts to take care of it, and those middle guts they don't take care of anyways. They just care about big and the biggest of the big. I've got the Orioles landing in 3rd, above the Rays. It's going to be very close between those two. And then, sorry, Red Sox Nation, you're in the turlet again. They're gonna. I think they're gonna be bad. Like bad. Like, I know that.
We're getting the predictions in a minute. You're jumping ahead on me here.
Sorry.
Off topic.
So,
anyways, just the last bit of this whole thing on the Yankees. David, what are you thinking as far as the Yankees go? Do you think they are still a quote unquote 99 win team, as they said on paper?
I think they are a formidable opponent for sure, but there are also some question marks going on. They're going through a bit of a youth movement right now. They're tried to work in 2 young players, Oswald Peraza and Osvaldo Cabrera. I'm sure it won't create any kind of confusion like the names. Does Nestor Cortez have the same year like he had last year? Does Judge at 62 home runs again? So I think the Yankees might not be as good as they were last year, but they're still a formidable opponent for the Jays.
Yeah. The one wild card that the Yankees also have is the fact that they have this young guy named Anthony Volpe, who is comparable allegedly to Derek Jeter. I find that humorous because everybody hated Derek Jeter as a minor leaguer and wondered what the hell he was doing there when he finally got up. Just saying. So to compare him now to that seems awkward and odd to me. But I don't know if this is a 99 win team. I think they're a 90-win team still. But there's a chance the Blue Jays steal that from them is my current mantra, because they also took a nice big hit to their starting pitching rotation the other day with a gentleman by the name of Frankie Montas going down for the season. Not just for a little bit, the season.
What injury did he get?
So, I believe it was his shoulder he did something to. I had to look it up. But either way, I'm glad we dodged that bullet all of a sudden, just saying. All the Blue Jays fans screaming and yelling, why haven't we gotten Frankie Montas last year around the trade deadline? Looking like a smart move at this point.
Hope he heals, just not against the Jays.
Exactly. So we discussed the Evil Empire, and I think some of the stuff everybody alluded to a little bit, because we're going to just keep going down the line here to the other American League East Division opponents here, because this is starting to sound like there's a chance we could squeak a division out here. But I guess the one big question is on every Major League Baseball season since I can remember is, can we finally outraise the Rays? Jason, it's your turn to go first on this one. You're muted still, buddy.
There we go. I feel like the Rays, they're a super athletic team, and that athleticism has sort of done them really well for the last couple of years. But it's proving now that you have to be athletic and you have to have baseball IQ and baseball talent. I think that's where they were kind of thin. I don't see it pushing too much forward. They haven't made any, giant moves to make me think, oh, hey, yeah, the Rays have got a great opportunity here. I feel like the lack of fans, the lack of just all they have down there is going to start to culminate. I think that what you're going to start to see is you're going to start to see more talk about them moving. You're going to see more talk about, are they going to get a new stadium? Can they get anything done down there? And I feel like that's been wearing on this group for a while, the guys who've been there, and the young guys coming up just keep thinking to myself, okay, well, where can I get traded? At what point do the Yankees want to take me, or where can I go? Or the
Mets. Think Wander Franco's thinking that already at 21? I mean, he's been there for 5 minutes.
That's my thought. I mean, I've got them below both the Yankees and the Orioles. I don't think they're going to have a very good year. I might be wrong, but I feel like I got a good beat on this one.
Yeah. Every time I say that, I eat it. So I'm not saying it. I've said it many times on this show, and former co-host Brendan Panikar, this is his mantras. I'm never down and on the Rays, and I'm not, and until some team finally figures out how to outraise the Rays. You can't beat them at their own game, which is exactly what you said about hyper athleticism and finding places to just pepper them around the diamond. And they have that in spades. David, the big, yeah, there you go. You're wearing this one.
Yeah.
So David, the next piece of this whole thing on the Rays side is they're going to get a gentleman by the name of Tyler Glasnow finally back, possibly. They're also going to get a full season out of the gentleman that I just mentioned, possibly, in Wander Franco. Do you think those are quasi-acquisitions that make this team at least as good as it was last year?
Well, Glasnow for sure. Give them teaming with McClanahan. That will be a terrific duo to go up against for any team. But you saw in the postseason when they went against Cleveland, they couldn't hit at all. The team that relies on pitching a lot. And so if their offense goes cold, always count them out. Always find a way to do it, somehow pull it off. But I think the Rays might. I think this might be the year where they miss the playoffs. Actually.
Yeah. And to that point, they have been the model of consistency. Ken, they were an 86 win team last year. Before that, in 2022, they were predicted to be exactly that, an 85 win team. So the predictions are noticing the same thing over and over and over again. Right now, the projections are saying that Tampa Bay will have the exact same record as last year, 86-76. And this is taking into account those pieces that we had just mentioned. Do you see the Rays still being an 86 win team?
So last season they got 86. The season before that they got 85. I'm predicting 84 this year, just for the sake of it.
Just to be that guy.
Just to be that guy. But I kind of agree with Jason. I don't know how they're going to perform this year. They, like you said, they're very athletic and all that sort of stuff. But I don't know, do they have the will to want to stick around? Like, I think you guys touch on a lot of good points there where I don't know. Right. If they're really into it this year, like you said, could a lot of them just want to be traded? Maybe. Right. But I have a feeling they're still going to be a pain in our sides regardless, because I see like almost any game I tried watching, like when I was watching last season, it was always against the Rays for some reason. I don't know why.
So we play them too many times.
We play them too many times. So I got really annoyed with how they were performing because they would always give us trouble. So could they do that again this year? Probably. But I don't know if they're going to do as well with us as they might with other teams, right? I think they're going to, like I said, I don't see them. I think they could be behind Baltimore, like what like Jason was saying.
Yeah. And the latest rumor on the stadium front is Tampa finally might be stepping up to the plate and wanting to keep their team. The biggest problem with the Tampa Bay Rays is if you guys have ever looked at a map possibly to see where the actual ballpark is, it's not in Tampa Bay. It's in St. Pete, which is a pain in the ass for everyday commuters to get to after they get out of work during the week. So being a person that's been there many a time, it's not the worst place I've ever seen a ball game. It's definitely not the best.
Have you been to Oakland?
I have been to Oakland, and I would put it right on par with that. And oh my God, I saw some pictures of what the Oakland Coliseum used to look like, and I'm like, why doesn't it look like that still? He's still 10,000 times better than that giant monstrosity they have in center field. It used to look like Kauffman Stadium in center field, like where the Royals play. So
now they have
because they were showing old Reggie Jackson and Ricky Henderson clips the other day on MLB. So. But there might be some gas to the fire of the Rays finally staying. But the other pending piece to that is MLB expansion is probably going to be happening in the next couple of years. And there's a lot of towns that want to bring a baseball team in. And we already seen the Las Vegas bring in, football and hockey over the last year. Baseball's a pretty easy one to bring in when they actually have a very nice minor league ballpark.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer. Vegas is a no-brainer for baseball.
Correct.
I am so surprised they haven't done it already. Having been there a couple times this year, it seems idiotic to me that they don't have it.
It seems silly to me that hockey was the first of all the main sports to let's just go to the desert. That worked out so well for the Phoenix Coyotes.
I will say this about hockey in Vegas. It has exploded there at a level that no one thought was going to happen. And the reason I asked the last time I was there, like men, women, everybody is wearing Golden Knights stuff. And so I asked somebody, why have you guys taken to this team so much? And I guess when the shooting happened, what was that, 4 years ago? The first entity that was to sort of say anything, and the reason that Vegas Strong started was the Golden Knights. They had a thing they put up right away. Jonathan Marchessault, Nathan Smith, and Marc-Andre Fleury went to the site. I'm telling you, this woman that I talked to had never watched a hockey game before them coming. This year, she has flown to Minnesota twice to watch Marc-Andre Fleury. That's how much these people love this team. It's crazy. They would do the same to baseball.
I think they would too. They'd latch right onto it. So if Vegas does get a team, like are we losing a team for that? No. Do they have to maintain the numbers, or could it literally just be added to a new league? It's pending question at this point. This could be the movie Major League for the Rays. They don't get enough people to show up and watch the damn movie. People go somewhere else. And right now, well, there was it 2-3 years ago, they were talking about being co-mingled between Montreal and Tampa and being the X-Rays. I thought it was a great idea. And then you would have known if the Montreal market is still ripe for with baseball fans, which many of us know that Canadian baseball is alive and well and just really needs that other piece to it. I love that the Blue Jays get the benefit of that whole fact that they are Canada's team, but it wouldn't shock me that another team comes in the next few years. So enjoy it, Blue Jays fans, while we have it. So, but there's going to be other towns, like I said, lining up for either a move team like the possible Rays or one of those 2 new teams that they'll add to fill out ranks, because they've been already talking realignment this offseason just to get the divisions different and change up some rivalries. That was part of the changing in the schedule. It was a bunch of things. So anyway, I digress because we have more teams to talk American League East with. And the next question I have, boys, is does the Baltimore Orioles youth kick them into high gear? Because they got some talent that they've been racking up from being a god-awful baseball team for the last 3 years, along with making some weird trades that people weren't expecting like they did last year, trading at the time one of the better closers in last year's baseball season in Minnesota for some youngsters. Those youngsters might actually pay off already this year for them. That's how good they've been recruiting, and easily probably have one of the best minor league baseball teams or their clubs, period, right now. So it's very interesting. David, you look like you got that tidbit or something ready to go with.
Yeah, the Orioles pretty much shocked everybody last year. I think Adley Rutschman is entering his first full year in the league. I think he'll be one of the best players in the league within a few years. He'll definitely lead that team. I think they could definitely be over 500 again, even sneak past the Rays for third place in the division. They're definitely an up-and-coming team that the Jays will have to worry about for sure.
Yeah, well, definitely going to have them nipping at their heels.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to say as well as Gunnar Henderson, Cedric Mullins. This is a pretty young, exciting team.
Yeah. Jason, I believe it's your turn. What do you think this youth movement continues for them? Because they have 2 guys that are going to, as David just mentioned, Gunnar Henderson, they're going to get for a whole season. They're looking to run with him. And I believe it's slipping my mind the young pitcher that they have, but he's the number 1 pitching prospect in baseball. Right?
Is that Grayson Rodriguez?
That's it.
Yeah. I mean, it's, for me, I really like the Orioles. I hate to say it, but I really, really, really do. I love, the fact that they didn't go out and spend a whole bunch of money on a giant name arm. They know, and this is to their credit, they know that if they make it to the playoffs this year, it's gravy. They're probably not expected to be there. If they can even get into the wild card, that's probably gravy. They're taking this slowly and in nice little steps. I mean, they've got Bradish, they've got Kramer, they've got Rodriguez, they've got all these arms. The question is similar to another team that wears blue, is the middle. It's all in the middle. They've got starting pitching. They've got good closing pitching. They've got good athletic guys. They got guys that can hit the ball out. Sound like anybody you guys know that rhymes with Blue Jays. It's ironic to see, and it's going to be fun because the Orioles games, I mean, you're going to see games that are 12, 13, 14, 15, 17. Like, they don't care. It's pedal down baseball. You get up 4 on them, they're like, we don't care. Are you kidding me? Yeah. We're going to go hit 3 dingers. It's awesome. So much fun.
Yeah. Adley Rutschman went a mere 15-24 in the month of May. So just saying, he didn't play the whole. That was from May 21st to the end of the month. So that was his first debut piece to the whole thing. So he's easily one of the best catchers in baseball right now, and I believe that he was actually ranked right up there with Kirk on MLB Now's rankings. So It was 3-4, I believe, right there for Kirk and then Rutschman. But they also did some good moves. They snuck in and stole Kyle Gibson off the free agent market. A good, consistent 3-4 pitcher as far as starting rotation ranks go. they did get just enough to offset the fact that they do have some youngsters on this team with guys like Gibson. I'm having trouble. Ken, tell me. I think the Orioles are sneaking in and setting themselves up to be the new Tampa Bay Rays currently.
Yeah, absolutely. I think like Jason and myself, we kind of feel the same way that I think it's Baltimore's season to really shine or not, right? Because I still don't think they can beat us if going for first, but they're adding the pieces and they got, like you said, they got a lot of youth on their side. And I love their stadium just for the fact that I know that if I'm watching sports highlights, that if a Baltimore Orioles game is on, there should at least be 4 home runs per game. God help me if it's a no-hitter.
You're still saying that even after they changed the fences last year, though.
Still.
That's the funny thing.
Exactly. But yeah, I think they're definitely, like they said, they're going to overtake Tampa Bay, I have a feeling. And they are going to give us some competitive games for sure. But I still think we're going to come out on top. But Baltimore definitely will be improved this year.
Greg, you're on mute.
Yeah. I'm banging my headphones, man. Jeez.
I pulled a Jason. I heard the dogs barking. I had to be nice. So, guys, they were an 83-win team last year. In the midst of that, I never thought in a million years their window was going to start opening last year. I figured they were going to be close to 500, not exceeding it by that amount. They were 10 games above it. And I don't see them taking a step back like everybody seems to think they're going to do this year. Not when you're going to have Grayson Rodriguez and Kyle Gibson in that starting rotation, because that's what killed them at the end of the year. They ran out of gas. They had nobody that could eat up any innings. It was just pure mayhem. It was like they could have gotten me up there to pitch, and it would have been still one of the guys going horrible, it wasn't helping anything. They couldn't get enough arms to keep coming through, and it just really suffered them at the end of the season. And they still found ways to win because of those offensive pieces we were just mentioning. And I think they're going to have a really good season, and I think they're going to be very, very pesky this year. Go ahead, David. You look like you got something to say.
They're pretty much following the model that the Astros took. 10 years ago, the Astros lost 100 games every year. And they actually have Astros. They actually have pieces from the Astros organization, Mike Elias and Sig Mejdal in their front office. They were right there with Jeff Lunau rebuilding the Astros, and now they're trying to do the same thing with the Orioles.
Yeah. The one thing I do like, the Washington Nationals came into the town within an hour drive to Baltimore, basically, 2 hours, something like that. They took a lot of Baltimore Orioles fans by winning that World Series with Harper and Strasburg and everything like that. I'm dying to see that come full circle again. To your point, Ken, that is one of the most beautiful ballparks I've been to in my life. And the one here in Rochester, actually, because we were the Baltimore Orioles minor league team for many years, is actually kind of quasi-modeled after Camden Yards here in Rochester. So it's kind of nice to have that little connection to it. But I've been there a bunch of times. I was there when Roberto Alomar and Cal Ripken were playing up the middle, talking about awesomeness up the middle. I'm sorry to say Ruin Odor is not exactly anchoring the other side of that diamond up very much, but I digress. But Gunnar Henderson's going to be something special. And then you have the rest of those guys in there too. It's going to be a very interesting up the middle for them. And that's how Alex Anthopoulos built this team for us in 2015. So they're doing that same thing. Good ball clubs have good, solid players up the middle, catching, pitching, shortstop, second base, one of those two, and then center field. And they got that right now. So Cedric Mullins just saying was was he 30-30 or 40-40 2 years ago? Yeah. He had a little bit of an off year compared to that year before that, but broke out as a true leader on that team, which is very interesting. So we have one more team in the American League to discuss, gentlemen, and that is the Boston Red Sox.
Rafael
Do they hit their yeah, we got to face just Rafael Devers. Do you think they hit their stride at all? Because nobody expected them to really do anything last year. And yet they just wouldn't go away for the first 3 months of the season. And they were there for a long time. I don't know what to think right now looking at this roster for the Boston Red Sox. Jason, do you see a giant threat here at all, or was Jonathan Papelbon right that they're going to finish fifth?
Well, I feel like so. I know a fair amount about the Red Sox. I've kind of, because I'm a big underdog guy ever since, they were, when they won a number of years ago and finally broke the curse. It's a very enchanting franchise. I've been to Fenway a bunch. It's an amazing ballpark. If you ever get a chance, please go. I mean, their starting rotation is good. I mean, they've got Chris Sale, they've got Kluber, they've got James Paxton. But those guys have all three been hurt so much it's ridiculous. Like, they have punch cards at the ER like nobody else in the league.
Or at least for Tommy John.
Yeah. The introduction of it's great they signed Devers. I mean, he's an excellent hitter and a good third baseman. But they also signed Justin Turner. So I guess one of them is going to play short. I would assume Turner would be my guess. But they also have Mondesi, who's he's an interesting part of the team. I feel like the big thing for the Red Sox, and I don't think that they can make this happen, is they need to make the city of Boston believe, because if the city of Boston produces champions at a ridiculous rate, unbelievable. Like, it's actually quite disgusting. But that being said, they need to believe, and if they don't, the team goes down with them. So if they can get some wins and they can get some charge at the start of the season, I mean, it's baseball. That's why we have to go play it. But if they can't get any traction, it's going to be a long year on Yawkey Way.
And what do you get from all these injury guys? I just think it's funny that they let go one of the bigger injury guys over the last years, and he was probably their best pitcher all last year, and that was Nathan Eovaldi, who is now a Texas Ranger. Correct me if I'm wrong. Yep. So, David, do you think anybody on this staff even gets to 100, 150 innings? When you were talking about Kluber, Sale, Nick Pivetta probably will, but that's not even a guarantee. And James Paxton hasn't pitched very much over the last 2 years, period. So somebody's got to pitch.
Seeing Red Sox fans on Twitter, you think those team is going to win like 40 games or something. Nothing but doom and despair on Red Sox Nation right now.
So Jason's winning his argument, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I like some of the pitchers. Tanner Houck, Garrett Whitlock are pretty good pitchers. Chris Sale is always hurt. If he stays healthy, who knows if he get back to what he is. But other than that, it's not looking good in Boston right now. I wouldn't expect much from this year.
Yeah, and then Ken, I guess the question is, can one guy truly carry an offense? Because Trevor Story will be coming back from an injury. We mentioned Alberto Mondesi, who's been a Kansas City Royal for a million years. He's a very speedy guy, but he's not known for hitting the ball out of the ballpark, and barely can, I feel like, get on base anymore, so he can't steal first. But Ken Rafael Devers is a guy that has been a perennial MVP guy that just got this giant extension. Is he able to carry this offense? I just don't see it being because you can pitch around him now. You don't have to face him all the time. Is he going to bat 300 like he's done the last few years with 30 home runs? What do you think?
I'm going to say even Kelly Gruber can't help the Boston Red Sox this season.
He tried once, though.
He tried once. But I just don't see a lot for Boston, like you said. Like if they're almost down in the dumps, almost like a Tampa Bay where they're kind of not believing, I don't see it happening.
At least the fandom isn't.
The fandom, that's the what is it, the 10th or 11th player on the team or whatever? What do you call that? Where the fans are? What number are they?
I was saying 27 now.
Whatever,
because it was a 25th guy, but now it's
that's what it is. And if you don't have it, it's doesn't really motivate the players to really play even harder. So regardless of the pieces there, if it's sitting behind you, that's not happening this year.
Yeah. I just don't think there's enough in the tank there. I really don't. If you were going to tell me who scares me the most in baseball at all, I would think the Red Sox are actually in my bottom 5. And they're hanging out with the up-and-comers of the, watching the Pirates, I think, are going to be possibly this year's Oakland or Baltimore Orioles this year. Key Brian Hayes and that O'Neill Cruz guy are just something to watch. And I think their young pitching going to get them just enough. So that, and, watching the Blue Jays old farm guy run that whole thing is a horrible idea. Is anybody curious what the actual quote unquote experts are saying for the rankings for this season?
Yes.
Everyone except Applebum, but sure, please share everyone else.
Applebum. Because David had to point this out because I didn't know what it stood for before the show here, because the quote unquote expert is this algorithm called the Pagoda Projections. And this algorithm has been pretty damn on point over the last few years. And until David mentioned, I didn't realize it was an acronym. I thought it was some computer, whatever it was called. I didn't figure it was like how IBM calls Watson. So, but it is actually the Player Empirical Comparison and Optimization Test Algorithm is what it's stands for.
Just
for the educated person, because that wasn't
rolls off the tongue. I was
Pagoda for the idiots wearing winter hats outside inside. Gotta have the out. Yeah. So they're saying that the Yankees are going to win the American League East at 98-64.
Okay.
The Toronto Blue Jays will be number 2 at 90-72. The
90-72?
Tampa Bay, yes, which would be, correct me if I'm wrong, damn near identical to last year almost. Was it 92 last year? Yeah. So the Tampa Bay Rays will take 3rd at 86-76, which, like I had mentioned a few moments ago, is the exact record they just got out of this last season. And somehow the Boston Red Sox win 80 games and lose 82. So 2 games under 500. And this is the one that really baffles me. And they actually predicted last year that the Baltimore Orioles were going to be above 500 level. No, sorry, I take that back. They screwed this one up bad last year with the Orioles. They said last year with the Orioles, it was going to be 61-101. They were 83-79. And they're doing the same dumb thing again this year with saying they're a 74-88 win team or lost team. So, outside the Orioles not being that bad is what it seems. Everybody's thinking, Ken, do you agree with where that is, or do you think it's going to be a lot closer in certain places?
Like I said before, I think the Jays are going to definitely either be top or not that far off. I think we're definitely going to build on the 92 win season that we had last year. Like I said, I'm guesstimating about 95-ish. 95 is a good number. Let's go with 95.
It's clean.
It's clean.
My wife will yell at you because it's an odd number. It has to be an even number.
Fine, 96.
There is the optimism. He went up, not down. Jason, what do you think?
Well,
I really am not hard pressed to see the Rays at the exact same record, but there's some weirdness going on there.
I feel like I'm hoping that this program isn't the same one that does the electronic umpiring, because I feel like there might be some repeats. Maybe it's Max Headroom.
Reboot Windows now.
Yeah, Max Headroom getting involved. But I mean, the Yankees are an interesting thing because they really all are an all-star team for all intents and purposes. Their lineup is disgusting. If they can have some cohesion and they can stay healthy, the Jays are in trouble. I mean, it's the fact of the matter. I'm making my prediction of the Jays winning the division based on fandom and if the Jays stay healthy and all those same things happen to them. But if they don't, and the Yankees stay healthy, if Judge stays healthy and hits another, 60 bombs and they get more from Juan Carlo and they're pitching, I mean, they got a stable of tortures. There's no good starter to face in that lineup. You look at the card that you get and you're like, oh God, him? Oh, him? Like, it's ridiculous. But I'm going to say this again. They're not a team. They are not a team. And if they stay that way all year long, they'll end up in second place and they'll lose again in the playoffs, just like the Edmonton Oilers always do lately. Not a team.
I think I have the perfect anecdote for you on the whole not a team thing. Aaron Judge gets beamed by Alek Manoah. Alek Manoah, you see him and Judge having a wonderful, sportsman moment, and Garrett Cole's ready to murder somebody.
Yeah.
I think the message might have been missed a little there. Just saying. And being the guy that lives in New York out of the room here, you wouldn't believe how many people say that same thing as Yankees fans around here. And they point to one single person that is not bringing them together. And it's not Aaron Judge. He's actually trying to do it. Does anybody want to take a wild guess?
George Steinbrenner?
Yeah, from the grave.
The grave?
Or his son. They are all amazed and shocked that Aaron Boone is still the manager of this club.
I'm not a fan.
So, he doesn't strike me as a guy that is that guy to bring the team together with all that talent on it. And the Yankees fans have been saying that since the day he got hired, and I think it's proving more and more right every day. So I will be shocked if he doesn't make it through this season with a win. What's going to happen in Yankee fandom, because I think there is the coming. So, David, what do you think about these rankings?
The Blue Jays did play at a 100-win pace under John Snyder last year. So I don't think they'll win 100 games, but they definitely win more than 90, I think. I think they're obviously...
You like Ken's number at 96 then?
96.
Around 94, 95, I'll say, around there.
There you go.
Slightly better than last year. They're obviously underestimating the Orioles once again. I think they have that number way off. But other than that, I think it's pretty accurate. As far as
I don't know how the Orioles take such a step back. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. So, boys, we're getting close to the hour here. I did want to throw one thing out here because it's already been the talk of camp, and it is the fact that Matt Chapman is just like everybody else this time of year in the best shape of his life and looks like a Greek god. But just saying, just like everybody else this time of year, they're in the best shape of their life. If you were able to talk him into it, and we'll go start with David here with this and work our way back to you, Ken. Are you throwing a brick of money at Matt Chapman to keep him a Blue Jay for the next 3 years?
I'll definitely try to, whether he accepts it or not. Remember, he's a Scott Boras client, and Scott Boras isn't going to let one of his clients disclose a
It will take a brick of money. Just saying,
Yes.
an actual brick. So, but if you were able to do it and find a way to make it happen, you're doing it.
Yeah, definitely. He's still relatively young. He said he loves being here. He wants to stay with this team. So I'll definitely try to hold on to him.
I think that right there is the biggest piece to it. Not only is he obviously putting in the work, but he wants to be with this club. He didn't want to leave Oakland. He wanted to go and stay through the whole whatever the hell they're doing right now. Because I can't call it a rebuild. Jason, what do you think? Do you think there's something there to be said that maybe they're talking about this already?
Yeah, I do definitely. I don't think the Jays would be looking to lock Chapman up too long. I think if they could get him for the right dollar and the right distance, they would be very interested. I mean, his defense is flawless. He is so unbelievable at third base. He didn't hit probably as well as he wanted to last year, but he really, he went in fits and starts, and he had some high times and some low times. I like him a lot. I liked what he had to say about the city of Toronto and liking the fandom and just liking the core. And I mean, I know guys have to say, they're not going to say, "Oh, it sucks," but it's one of those things that he strikes me as being a very genuine dude. And I think if they get off, to a good start this year, they can dangle a carrot in front of him and say, "Hey, you can do this for another 5 years if you want to, Matt." And I feel like for him, he does like to win, and he would like to be on a team that wins. And so I feel like that would be enough to get him, and a brick of money. I think I left that part out, but
the brick of money.
Maybe a dump truckload of money. But again, if you get the right number and the right distance, I don't mind throwing money at him.
Yeah, and it wouldn't shock me if you were able to talk him with his tenure outside of his glove, obviously being one of the best in baseball, to your point. His offense has been spotty, so teams are going to go after him on his offense, and this is why we're not going to pay you. But you guys remember what it looked like watching him right off the bat last year in April, going into May, and it was like, wow, it was kind of looked like he was swinging a sword, kind of thing. He turned that around so well to the point where he hit 30 home runs last year, almost 30 home runs. Imagine if he actually got off to that start that he did. He probably is looking somewhere in the ballpark of a 250 batting average with 30 plus home runs, not a 229. So it's going to be very interesting to see that. Clearly last year he got healthy finally from his hip issues, and now he's had a real off season. That's going to say something, and I think that's why you have a best shape of his life candidate. So, Ken, are you paying him? I think you find a way to get him here for 3-4 more years.
Yeah, I mean, like right now he's getting about 12.5 right now. Like how much of a brick do you think how much of a brick do we need to give him to keep him?
At least that brick.
At least minimum for the 12.5. Yeah, like
I'm just kidding. I didn't look it up.
If he can,
I think you're probably looking at about he'd come out at about a $15 million guy. I think
50 million. Okay, if that's the case, a slight increase. Not. Yeah, I definitely think we should keep him. If he can replicate the amount of home runs he hit last year, almost 30. I mean, I hope he does I hope he does hit a little bit better, because 229 might be a little bit of a holdback there. But if he can hit like 250, 260 with 30 home runs, then that's what I would hope for him to produce for the Jays. So, and he's no Kelly Gruber, but he's still a good third baseman.
So the Blue Jays signed him to a 2-year, $25 million contract just to buy out his arbitration years the last 2 years, this being the last of that. So, yes. To that point, though, it doesn't sound like that would be like we've been saying, he's one of the best defensive third basemen in baseball. So you're going to pay for that. And I figure it's somewhere in that ballpark of 15 to 20 a year.
Yeah, if he increases his batting average and still hits 30, he's going to be asking for 20. There's no doubt about it. And I mean, he's probably worth 15 to 18. But if we can get the best part of his life as a Jay and he is consistent, then it's worth it. That 20 million ages itself out nicely, I think, as long as they can sort of keep it, on a level. Not any kind of increase, but we'll see.
You just take now that Hyunjin Ryu's contract is ending and you defer that money over to Matt Chapman, and then you're good. Because as much as I would, I'd love to see Ryu build himself back up and be an awesome pitcher again, he's not making another $20 million a year contract at this point in his career. So to that point, I am happy to buy out Matt Chapman's window of his great years in baseball, because he's going to be 30 here in a few weeks. I'm just saying. So it's not, I think it said on his baseball reference page, he was 29 and 300 days or something like that. So in the next 2 months, he'll be 30.
I didn't know there was going to be math on this.
Yeah.
I
know. What? There's 362 days in a year. And a train leaves Chicago going.
I was waiting for that train.
Another
question.
one leaves from Milwaukee going. So, boys, this is the end of the night. Is there anything else anybody would like to bring up and discuss here to end the show on?
Well, let's just prayers with the Toronto Maple Beef. Hopefully, his little baby, the maple meatball, will be coming out soon. Because I think, like I said before, I think I read in the reports that the baby was supposed to be due February the 13th, and we're already the 22nd. And so hopefully the baby is okay, and can't wait to have him back, because he is very missed, according to the reports right now. So we're missing the maple beef.
It's important for him to be there. Yeah, for me, it was Pink Shirt Day today. I'm a big advocate of it. We really try and work on a lot of mental aspects with young athletes. We had a really tragic situation out here as well with a U15 hockey player. And I just want, people to know that there's people out there that you can talk to. There's there's a thing called the Foundry that some good friends of ours started out here in BC, and it just, if you're 13 to 18 years old, or you could even be younger, and you need somebody to talk to about something, reach out to somebody, reach out to a teacher, to a friend, to a parent, somebody. Don't let it get there. It's so tragic when you see it happen, and on a day like today, it really hits home with that kind of stuff. So.
And to that point, if you just want to talk baseball, you're more than welcome to come join us here on our show. We're happy
right
here. So always a voice to be heard here. So David, I think this is your shameless self-promoting part of the hour. So if you would like to talk to the Blue Jays fans of where they can find your work and what you've been up to writing over at Jays Journal recently.
Well, spring training games start this weekend. So this time next week, we'll be able to actually talk about some game action. I'm excited to see their young players, Ricky Tiedemann, Addison Berger. We were talking about Matt Chapman earlier. Maybe Berger advances this season to the point where he's ready to take over next year, and they don't have to pay Matt Chapman next year.
Yeah.
There is that, but I do like Matt Chapman, just saying. So it's great stuff, David. Keep up the good work over there at Jays Journal, and obviously we will have you back on here at some point in the near future as well. Blue Jays fans, if you haven't caught us this evening live during our show here on YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, wherever the heck you get your streaming pleasures from, make sure you listen to us wherever you get your podcasting pleasures from, on Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever it might be. We are here for you each and every week, and maybe we're going to think about something else for the spring, for the actual spring training games and stuff that might start in the next weeks here or next weekend. We're going to have some fun with you on Twitter or whatever it might be at a Twitter Spaces event coming up soon. Make sure you join us for that. And until then, boys, I think it is the 2 claps and a Ric Flair. Let's go Blue Jays. So 1, 2, 3. Woo! Woo! Let's go Blue Jays.
Spring training.
Yes. Thank you for listening to the Jay Bird Watching Podcast. Please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch at BirdwatchingGC, and our YouTube channel. If you want to support the show and get extra content, please consider donating to our Patreon at patreon.com/birdwatchinggc. Go Jays, go.